On October 4, 2024, 19-year-old Isla Bell left her family home in Brunswick, Melbourne. She was young, vibrant, and full of dreams. But that evening, she stepped into the unknown. What happened next would shock a city, devastate a family, and leave investigators untangling one of Melbourne's darkest mysteries. Isla Bell was a beacon of creativity and ambition. A budding fashion designer, she spent hours in her room sketching clothing concepts she hoped to bring to life one day. Born and raised in Brunswick, Isla grew up in a loving household with her mother and younger siblings. Her mother described her as the heart of the family, someone who could bring joy even in difficult times. Her friends called her adventurous, a quality that sometimes worried her family. Isla had a curious streak, often exploring new friendships in online spaces, searching for excitement beyond her quiet suburban life. From few months, Isla had been communicating with a man she referred to as her Russian sugar daddy. His name was Marat Ganyev, a 53-year-old who presented himself as a sophisticated, wealthy, and worldly figure. Their connection began online through a social media platform, where Ganyev often portrayed a lavish lifestyle. Dinners at exclusive restaurants, photos of exotic cars, and vacations to picturesque destinations. Isla, drawn by his charm and the allure of his seemingly glamorous life, found herself curious. Their first interaction was casual, a comment on one of her posts, complimenting her on her fashion sketches. It quickly turned into private messages. Ganyev was attentive, praising her creativity and telling her she had the talent to become a world-famous designer. What initially seemed like harmless flattery soon turned into a whirlwind of attention and extravagant gestures. Ganyev told Isla he wanted to support her dreams, offering to fund her design studies and even help her start her own fashion line. He promised her the world, opportunities, mentorship, and the chance to escape the mundane life of Brunswick. But Ganyev didn't stop there. He began crafting a narrative that he was her protector. He shared a dramatic story about how he had once rescued her from potential traffickers, an encounter Isla had mentioned to friends as a creepy but brief interaction at a party months earlier. Ganyev claimed he had intervened and kept an eye on her. Ever since, this tale cemented Isla's trust in him. To her, Ganyev wasn't just a generous benefactor, he was a savior who cared deeply about her well-being. She began referring to him as her Russian sugar daddy, a term she used jokingly with her friends, though she rarely divulged many details about their relationship. Ganyev's influence grew through expensive gifts, jewelry, designer handbags, and even a sleek tablet he claimed she could use for her fashion sketches. Each gift came with words of encouragement and admiration, making Isla feel special and valued. At first, she saw him as a harmless older man who wanted to help her succeed, but friends grew uneasy. They noticed how secretive Isla had become about her interactions with Ganyev. When they pressed her for more information, she would laugh it off or change the subject. "He's just helping me," she would say. "He's not like that." But as weeks turned into months, Isla's behavior subtly changed. She began spending less time with her friends and more time texting or calling Ganyev. Her family, however, remained largely in the dark. Isla never mentioned Ganyev to her mother or siblings, keeping their connection carefully hidden. It was as though she knew they wouldn't approve, and this secrecy only added to the complexity of her relationship with him. On the evening of 4th October, Isla told her mother she was meeting friends in the city. It was nothing out of the ordinary for the independent teenager. She stepped out the door, leaving behind her cozy family home. She booked a rideshare to St. Kilda East, where CCTV cameras captured her arriving at an upscale apartment complex just after 8 p.m. She entered the building with Marat Ganyev, smiling faintly, seemingly at ease. When Isla hadn't returned home by midnight, her mother grew uneasy. Isla was responsible and had a habit of texting updates if she was running late. She checked her phone repeatedly, expecting to see a notification from Isla, but the screen remained silent. By morning, unease had turned to full-blown panic. Isla hadn't come home, and her phone had gone straight to voicemail every time her mother tried to call. Text messages remained unread. Her mother began calling Isla's friends, hoping someone might know where she was. One by one, her friends said the same thing. They hadn't seen or heard from Isla since the day before. The last interaction anyone had with her was a cryptic Snapchat message she'd sent late that night. The message mentioned Marat Ganyev, the mysterious older man she had referred to as her Russian sugar daddy. In it, Isla described him as someone who had saved her in the past. The tone of the message was ambiguous, part gratitude, part caution. but it left her friends unsettled. Did she seem scared? Nervous? One friend asked another as they pieced together her final communications. No one had a definitive answer. By October 5th, with no sign of Isla and no contact from her, her mother went to the Melbourne police to file a missing persons report. Officers listened as she described her daughter, responsible, cheerful, and not the type to simply vanish without telling someone. They assured her they would begin investigating immediately. As the hours ticked by, Isla's family and friends took matters into their own hands. Her mother and younger siblings shared her photo on social media, pleading for information. Flyers with Isla's smiling face were distributed throughout Brunswick and St. Kilda East, asking,
Isla Bell was last seen leaving her home in Brunswick in Melbourne's inner north on October 4. Her family has maintained a tireless campaign for information on her whereabouts for the last 6 weeks. The Missing Persons Squad took up the case in late October, detectives finding her phone and bank accounts had not been accessed in weeks.
"Have you seen Isla?" The community rallied quickly, with dozens sharing the post online and offering support. But as the days passed with no leads, hope began to waver. The police launched an intensive search, retracing Isla's last known movements. CCTV footage showed her entering Ganyev's apartment, but no cameras captured her leaving. Detectives interviewed neighbors and searched the apartment building, but Ganyev was nowhere to be found. His phone was off, and his social media accounts had gone silent. Back at home, Isla's mother clung to hope, but the lack of updates from police was agonizing. Every call that came through made her heart race, only to end in disappointment. Her youngest sibling, too young to fully grasp the situation, kept asking, "When is Isla coming back?" The question only deepened the family's anguish. Her friends, racked with guilt, wondered if they had missed warning signs. "What if we had done more?" one of them said tearfully in an interview later. As the investigation dragged on with no clear leads, the weight of uncertainty became almost unbearable. The breakthrough came when police found new CCTV footage showing Ganyev and another man, later identified as 57-year-old Isla Yafi, a cleaner, loading a large, tightly sealed refrigerator into a van. The footage was time-stamped October 5th, less than 24 hours after Isla was last seen alive. The discovery was chilling. Investigators now had reason to believe that Isla had met with foul play. Detectives worked tirelessly to track the movements of the van, which was spotted traveling through several locations in Melbourne's southeast, before ultimately disappearing from view. The trail went cold once again, but the investigation had taken a darker and more urgent turn. 6 weeks after Isla's disappearance, on a damp November morning, workers at a rubbish tip in Dandenong were going about their usual routine, sorting through heaps of discarded waste. Among the piles of trash, one worker noticed something unusual: a large refrigerator, tightly sealed and coated in grime. It stood out amidst the debris, not just because of its condition, but because of its weight. It felt unnaturally heavy. Curious and cautious, the workers pried it open. What they found inside froze them in horror. The unmistakable smell of decomposition hit them immediately, and the grim sight confirmed their fears: human remains. Shaken and panicked, they immediately called the police. Within hours, the site was cordoned off, and forensic teams began their meticulous examination. The state of decomposition made the task challenging, but after days of analysis, the DNA results came back. The confirmation was devastating. The remains belonged to 19-year-old Isla Bell. For her family, the news shattered the faint hope they had clung to for 6 long weeks.
As you might imagine, the last 6 weeks has been an incredibly emotional time for those who knew Miss Bell. Her mother, in particular, has been very active on Facebook, pleading for any information from the public and calling for her daughter to come home.
The missing persons case they had prayed would end with Isla walking back through their door had turned into a homicide investigation. With the discovery of Isla's remains, the investigation took a sharp turn. Detectives now had a gruesome starting point, but were still piecing together how the refrigerator ended up in the Dandenong landfill. The refrigerator itself became a critical piece of evidence. Forensic teams examined it meticulously, finding faint fingerprints on the exterior and traces of accelerant inside, suggesting an attempt had been made to destroy the evidence. Investigators traced the refrigerator's serial number to a purchase made months earlier, leading them back to Murat Ganyev. CCTV footage from October 5th resurfaced as detectives expanded their search radius. It showed Ganyev and a second man, Isla Yafi, loading the refrigerator into a white van outside Ganyev's apartment. This footage had initially raised suspicions, but with the discovery of Isla's remains, it now confirmed their involvement. Detectives tracked the movements of the van, uncovering a trail that zigzagged across Melbourne's southeastern suburbs. Witnesses at various locations, including a recycling center in Clayton, recalled seeing 2 men unloading and then reloading the refrigerator. It felt odd. one worker said. Most people just leave fridges for disposal, but they seemed hesitant, like they were trying to figure out where to put it. The van was eventually seen entering the Dandenong landfill. This information solidified the timeline, but there was still no sign of Ganiev or Jaffa. As police intensified their search, they received a tip from a landlord in Springvale who reported suspicious activity at a property he rented to two men. The landlord had seen news reports about the case and recognized one of the suspects, Marat Ganiev. On November 20th, 2024, police raided the property, arresting Ganiev and Jaffa. Ganiev appeared calm and unrepentant, but Jaffa was visibly shaken. Under interrogation, Jaffa broke first. He admitted to helping Ganiev dispose of Isla's body, but claimed he was coerced. "I didn't want to do it," he told detectives. "He threatened me. I didn't know what else to do." Ganiev, however, denied everything. He refused to answer questions about Isla, repeatedly stating, "You have no proof." Evidence against Ganiev began piling up. Alongside the CCTV footage and fingerprints on the refrigerator, detectives found damning digital evidence. Ganiev's search history included chilling phrases such as, "How to dispose of a body," "Best ways to clean blood," "How long does it take for a body to decompose in a fridge?" When questioned about these searches, Ganiev offered no explanation. Despite the arrests and the mountain of evidence against them, many questions about Isla's death remain unanswered. Investigators have pieced together the physical evidence, but the full story of what happened inside Marat Ganiev's apartment on October 4th is still unclear. Was this an act of premeditated violence, or did something escalate unexpectedly? How much did Ayal Yafi truly know, and was he coerced as he claimed? For Isla's family, the lack of answers only deepens their grief. Her mother, now grappling with the unimaginable loss of her eldest daughter, has expressed frustration with how easily trust can be manipulated. "She was just a young girl with dreams," her mother said tearfully. "She didn't deserve this." As of now, Marat Ganiev and Ayal Yafi remain in police custody, awaiting formal charges and the start of their trials. Investigators continue to build their case, hoping to bring justice to Isla and her grieving family. The tragic death of Isla Bell stands as a stark reminder of how quickly trust can be betrayed and how one act of violence can shatter countless lives. Her story has left an indelible mark on her community, serving as both a cautionary tale and a call for vigilance in protecting those we love.